Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching this video. Warm welcome to all of you. My 10-week recap journey introduced me to a cohort of 199 interesting individuals from varied background and industries. It was heartwarming experience to interact with them and learn mutually. To take forward this journey, the LinkedIn Accelerator program journey, and also as a next step in my Leadership Leap series, I am starting these conversation series under the name of Learning Through Conversation. Hi, I am Vedashri, a seasoned IT professional and a leadership coach. My first guest today is Rashmi Shetty. The first thing that catches one's attention about Rashmi is her smile and her warmth. You know, there is very much ease in conversation and she connects instantly. We had a long chat and she gladly accepted to be my first guest. Thank you, Rashmi. Rashmi is an ICF PCC certified coach. She is a founder director of the company Third Eye. Rashmi comes from a varied background of coaching, sales, storytelling, radio jockeying, chat shows hosting, emceeing, podcasting. I think the list goes on. This interesting mix of all this experience makes her a motivational speaker too. She's a certified disc assessor, EFT certified person, NLP, TA 101 are some of the tools that she uses in her assignments. These learnings have helped her to craft her leadership and the coaching program. She is a leadership coach, and I would like to have conversation around learnings from her journey. Very warm welcome to you, Rashmi. Uh, uh, you are my first guest, and you are very special to me, and this will be in the memory for a long time. I have shared a little bit about you to the audience, but I would like you to introduce yourself and share the things probably my audience may not know about you and what I've not shared. Uh, Over to you, Rashmi.
Thank you, first of all, and congratulations on this amazing journey you're going to take, Veda. Uh, and I'm honored, grateful for choosing me to be your first guest. Well, the only thing you missed out, and personally, which I like to speak about, is my role as a mother. I'm a mother of two boys who are 26 and 23, and they kind of complete me because they are the ones who constantly remind me that communication is an ongoing process. There are so many things that keep changing in communication, and it doesn't matter who you're communicating with, as long as you are clear what exactly you want to say. So that concludes the introduction that you did not put in. That's all.
Thanks, Rashmi. That was a good, lovely introduction, and lovely to know you. You have grown up kids and kids who actually are part of your journey in becoming the person you are. So
Yeah.
that's wonderful. Um, so I remember, I think we were both were part of the LinkedIn journey, and you shared a lot of articles around voice, and I particularly liked one of the articles around having skills which are not taught in the B schools, and that is of so much interest to me for the simple reason that my leadership niche is all about for the young, for the dynamic mid-career people, mid and senior career people who are looking for career transition and growth, how they cannot invest if they are not able to invest on the B school, how they still can pick up the tools and techniques and grow in their career. So, my question to you is, I know it is not mandatory to be in a B school, but how does one pick up those skills if not from a B school? And what do you have to share from your leadership journey to our audience on some of the traits that one can pick up beyond the teachings of a B school?
Uh, Very, very important question, Veda. And one question that all of us need to address, especially when we get on our leadership journey. Because when we talk about being a leader, it's more about people skill and people interaction. So, whatever your qualification is, it really doesn't matter because people don't care about what your qualification is as long as you don't come across as a caring leader to them. So, what is care? Care, when you put together, you understand that somebody who's very empathetic, somebody who really tries to think from the other person's point of view and act. So, empathy is getting into the shoes, but the next level of empathy is empathy plus action, which is compassion. So, anyone who has these two factors in them are very high on people skills because that's what takes you higher. Technical skills can be taught and trained at any given point of time, but people skills is having the right attitude. And having the right attitude means that ability to be adaptable, flexible, put yourself in any groove such that you only help the machine move forward rather than hold it all back, being very steadfast and adamant about your ideas and thoughts.
Thanks for that warm introduction, Rashmi. See, we have been in the journey of the LinkedIn program. I know you have written quite a bit on your um, uh, eh, voice on the voice subject. And one of the articles which intrigued me was where you had written about the traits that you pick beyond the B school. In our career, most of the time, many people do not have the opportunity to step out of their current career for whatever situation it could be. They still want to aspire to get into the next role. Especially, I see this in the mid and senior level people where they have responsibilities, financial or family responsibilities, and they are unable to step out. And for those people, we all know that these schools help, but what is that the traits that they can pick up so that there is still a career growth for them, and so that they don't have to take that break, invest on the B school, because my niche is all also about encouraging the mid to senior career people who want a career transition but may not be able to invest on the B school. What are the traits that they can pick it up?
Okay, one very important question, Veda, I like about this is what are those traits? So it's a beautiful question to start the leadership journey with because in the mid and senior level, you're no more an individual contributor. You're part of a team, you may be leading a team, and you may be reporting to someone. So, either which way, it is important to understand that you're not alone anymore. And in this part of the journey, it's how you carry along those people who you may or may not know very well. And at that point, it is the interpersonal connections that are important. And this is something that no school will teach you. It's what you pick up from three very important elements that shape your attitude. And that is called the three E's that I always talk about. The first one is the environment in which you're brought up, the environment that surrounds you, which influences you. The second one is the education that you pick from that environment. Now, this is not your school, college degree, but the education of how to live in a society, understand those unwritten rules based on which you can grow and go further. And the third most important E is experience. Experience not only that you get out of life, but people around you have, and you talk to them to get to know. Because unless you talk, you never know what the other person's story is all about. And the beauty about experience is each one, you may be young or old in the number of years, it doesn't matter, but each one is a walking, talking story, and learning from their experience in fact becomes a lesson that you can use in your life. So using all these three, and they again are part of your environment, and all these three are constantly changing. Your environment is changing, the education you're drawing from it is growing day by day, minute by minute, interaction by interaction, and the experience is only making you that much more richer, adaptable, and flexible. So these are things that don't come from school, but it comes from the school of life itself. And that is where a leader who is completely engrossed in that element of learning from the school of life ends up being very effective, successful, and liked by people around him or her.
It's interesting the way you have used three E's to express this idea. After a point of time, it's the environment, it's the people around, it's what has happened in your past that actually makes happens. You can convert that into your future, and I think being observant, that is what I gathered from what you said. It's being aware of what has happened and how to leverage that in your careers or in life to take that step forward is what cannot be taught in a school. And I think rightly said. Rashmi, moving on, I had this. I know you're a voice and a self expression coach. In fact, your podcast, I and Rashmi with you, has, in fact, you have featured so many people on that. I believe it's 80 plus people episodes that you have had podcast where you have featured people who have given. Who heard their voice and come out of it and expressed it and made something different out of this. I but you know what, as women or some of the people that we meet across, even though they're so much capable and so very accomplished, but they still are not happy, or they feel something, a part of them is not still expressed. And I think that is where your your coaching comes into picture. um, I would like to understand from you what has been your experience while training people to find their voice. Can you share some examples or some tips to the audience?
Sure, definitely, Veda. Because when it comes to the podcast, you and I with Rashmi Shetty, it's completely focused on you and I, which stands for uniqueness and individuality. Now, each one of us carries a uniqueness, and we are individuals in our own right. But what makes us so amazing in this pool called the world is there is a blending of this uniqueness and the individuality where we need each other and we make a difference to the other. So, the whole quest when I set out on that journey was something that began in Feb last year when people were hesitant to even wear a mask.
Oh,
And I was like, a second wave had not come in, and people were like, oh, we have to wear a mask all the time and stuff like that. And that's when it hit me. Being a professional from the radio space for 10 years, I had stayed away from podcasting. But this was where it triggered again that all you have to do is wear a mask to save yourself. And for that, you're cribbing so much, while there are so many people who go beyond themselves to make a difference to the world.
very
And
true.
how do they do that? How do they choose it? They listen to that voice in me. And that is where the journey and the quest began. I knew a couple of people who were like that. I reached out to them. They were more than happy to share their story. So, made it a kind of a human library podcast. It's an audio podcast primarily. And this is basically to tell people that stop thinking about yourself, start seeing where you can make a difference. And it's not that they have gone formed a group or anything, it's just that each individual can contribute. So at that level started this journey of mine, and like you said rightly, 80 people this week will be the 81st. But what I understood is all you need to do is take that first step to find people in the journey, and then life opens up. The way I met the others, I didn't know three-fourths of the people that I have had and featured on my podcast when I set out on the journey. But today I can very confidently call them my friends because they've shared a piece of who they are and what makes them so different. The same thing happened with Vani. Vani is a program which I use for women leaders in transition. And this was again something that was born in the pandemic. I love playing with words and acronyms, especially. And I was looking for an Indian name for my coaching program. And Vani means speech, it means
Yes,
sound. So
definitely.
that's when I thought, okay, let me look at something which makes sense around this. And that's where was born virtual articulation narrating instrument, which is
Oh,
your voice.
very
So
interesting.
yeah, so Vani stands for that instrument, which is your voice. And I noticed in a lot of the sessions that I used to facilitate that women had really brilliant ideas, but they would hesitate to even speak it out in a virtual platform. That when we meet on smaller breakout rooms, they would give the ideas, and I would be like, why didn't you say it there? And their answer would be, nobody asked. And that's where the whole idea was then you can't wait for people to ask you all the time. And as women, I don't know what happens to our conditioning. After a point, we always wait to be asked. We do not step over people and make our presence felt. So that is where many a time our voices also get lost. And the whole purpose behind this coaching program was to help these women who are in transition, hesitant to speak, to make sure that they speak up when required, share their ideas. And many a time through this journey, what I understood was most of them hesitated to speak only because they were scared that the idea would be rejected. So it
Okay.
was important for them to understand that the idea is being rejected, not them.
Hmm.
The fact that they're called for a meeting means they add value, and
Hmm.
therefore that value input should come from them. And this is something that gets constantly reiterated. And through the course of the program, what I work with are at two levels. The first level is at, like I told you, my framework is voice, the word voice, because I have been associated with that voice now. People see me as somebody from the voice industry and a coach. And therefore, I thought, why not pick a word that is very easily associated with me? And when you do any program, it's always wise to use a word which people can take back and recall you with. And voice became that word that resonated most with me. So, voice at a basic level with which I start any of my coaching programs is around those five elements of voice, okay, which is your volume, oscillation, inflection, clarity, and emotions. These are the five elements that I found out make a voice rich and super rich. So when we say volume, it's how it's all here. It's how you adjust it. And when I speak about oscillation, it is the modulation of a voice because sound is a wave, it's not a straight line. So anybody who speaks with that modulation is somebody everyone likes to listen to. And naturally we have it. It's just that when we become conscious, it all becomes flat and a monotone.
Very true.
So, like when you're angry with a friend because the friend gave you a horrible suggestion of a film, when you call your friend, you don't say that movie was horrible. How did you send it? Even recommend me and to tell me to go. You straight away start with, "Oh my God, are you a friend by any chance? How do I call you a friend?" Right? Nobody tells you at that time. You know, when you say, "Oh my God," you should raise your volume, and there should be that modulation which goes. So naturally, we are storytellers. We are very good with our voice. It's only when we become conscious that these elements of the voice are lost. And then once you pick that up to become a storyteller, what happens is you become an interesting communicator. People like to listen to you, and you can look around you. We love leaders who speak well. There are some leaders we wait for, whose talks are something which entertain us. And if you go back and recall, most of their talks have very good stories or jokes. And
Very
that's
true.
why we remember and we love them,
Very
right?
true.
And there are some people who speak very less, but whatever they speaks volumes about who they are. They know exactly how to weigh their words and speak. And most successful leaders are never in a hurry to give an answer. They play powerfully with silence and pause. And these three elements, when you understand that, your voice becomes your biggest asset. Like, you know, even if it is virtual, there are many of us in that small square, rectangle, whatever you call it, who sit stiff. Just opening up our body language itself can shift a lot in the way a person speaks. One example which I saw during the course of Vani is when one of a senior leader who was taking the course, suddenly I was telling her, okay, now you know what you should do? You should start opening up your body language while you're speaking. So I asked her to do it for something that we were working on. And when she did that, suddenly she started crying. And this is virtual. So I just lent my silence there. I didn't do anything. I just allowed her to cry. And then she said, I'm so sorry. It's just that I have, for so many years, been conditioned that a girl should not open up her body
Oh
language while
my God.
speaking,
Yeah.
that suddenly now, after so many years, you asked me to do it. It felt so liberating
Hmm.
that I just could not help. But these tears are not of anything but joy. That there was this was something that I never did. You know, we are told girls should not laugh loudly, girls should not occupy space, you
Yes.
should kind of constrict yourself. So these conditionings that were given suddenly found an outlet of, okay, it feels good actually to open up and open your body language. So sometimes these physical movements start altering our voice.
That's very interesting
So
that you said that, that physical movements actually impacts your voice. In fact, when you're even talking now, I see that you're using the power of the pause, silence, and I think your voice is a little more rhythmic and it is much more slower. And I see that calming effect actually, Um, Rashmi, you did mention how to use pause and silence. I mean, that is some of the things that leaders use. But for somebody who's just just listen to you and they just recognize that voice is an important part of the personality, what would you suggest them? What are the few things that they can start off to start incorporating in their daily routines that can help to improve the voice and at least be aware of that voice is a strong personality for a leader?
okay, we have three voices. Okay, we have voice at the base level, middle level, and top level. Okay, so base is more your diaphragm. In Sanskrit, there's this word called nabhi, your belly button. So singers like SPB and all can hold their breath for so long because they breathe from their nabhi. And
Hmm.
that's why long chants and all that they can say it so powerfully without seeming to go breathless. And that is one of the biggest and most important things in voice, your breathing. Okay.
Okay.
So the more calmer you are, the more your breathing is from your diaphragm.
Okay.
The more emotional you are, the more your breathing is from your top. Okay, from
Oh,
your throat.
okay.
That's why when you're very angry, you know, words don't come out, and you're suddenly like, oh my God, what happened? Why is my word not coming out? Or if you're very upset, your vocal cords dry up, and there are no words that come up. Because at that time, your breathing is very shallow.
Hmm.
While when you're very calm, that's why they say don't react, respond. Because when you respond, what you're doing is you're conscious, you know, like when you're fed up, what do?
Hmm.
No
Yeah.
point,
Hmm.
right? Yeah. So that is something where your body is telling you, relax, forget it. There's no point telling this person anything more. He's just tried everything possible with you, right? So everywhere. And you know, the beauty of life is what we experience between two breaths. The moment the breath stops, life stops. So it's all about that biggest blessing that we become mindful about, breathing. And the moment, breathing is something that we become aware of, and you don't even have to do complicated exercises, just
Okay.
simple, like one of the most simple exercise. I teach Bhagavad Gita to little children. So one of the things I tell them to do as part of their everyday routine is chant not the verse, but before they go to the verse, three syllables.
Okay.
Okay, these three syllables play a big role in how your voice comes across. So let's do one very simple exercise every day. The simplest of all, you just take the three syllables a, u, m. Okay, which in English, if you translate it, you write as A, U, and
Yeah.
M. Okay, so A is more your top,
Oh.
is more your middle, and is your
Mm.
base. Okay, so you start with A, U, right? So you go with A. And there will come a point where there won't be any sound you can hear, but there will be a tightness at your core. And that tightness, till you're comfortable, hold it. The moment you're uncomfortable, let go of that and open your mouth. So, this exercise, very simple, anyone can do, can make a big difference in how your voice comes across. This is a very basic mindful exercise. And this is something that I've noticed a lot of voice professionals do on a regular basis. In fact, because of emceeing programs, I've met a lot of people and they have also given me inputs because some of their voices are amazing. And one of the actors that I had met is Kabir Bedi. Kabir Bedi, even at this age, has an amazing voice.
Yes.
So when I asked him, how do you maintain that pristine quality of your voice? One of the exercises he said that he does, immaterial of whatever his frame of mind is the Om exercise. So he says just doing that shifts so much for me and calms me. So this one exercise every day, consciously building it, will help you understand how your voice
So
works.
how long one is
There
supposed
is
to
no
do?
long for this, Veda. It's how many times you want to do it. And the only times you should not do it is when after your lunch, when your stomach is full, because you're taking your breath, right? And when your stomach is full, your entire system is working towards the digestion part. So that's the only time you don't do these exercises. This particular exercise you can do when you're simply sitting at work before a presentation, before an important meeting, before a confrontation, before anything that you want to do which is important. You can just do this exercise a couple of times, and there's no length for it. The length is you'll start seeing that you can hold the
For a longer time.
longer time as time goes. You know your practice is good if you can hold it. And if you want to work more on your bass voice, stay longer with If you want to work on your top voice, if you're very soft spoken but you want to work on your top voice, then stay more with ah. So you will understand the rhythm as you do this exercise, and you will start enjoying it because you'll start seeing a difference.
See, this
And
is such a simple exercise, Rashmi, and it's such a beautiful
yeah,
gift that you're giving it to our audience. It seems very simple, but I think uh, I used to be part of the, learning drama as such, and this is one of the vocal exercise that they used to teach us, so that you can hold the breath and you can also talk for a longer time. I think it's very beautiful that you have shared this, and it is very simple, and all of us can definitely try it. um, Another thing that I also wanted to ask you is that, see, we talked about basic things that we can learn in terms of voice, this Om exercise. But you also talked about the power of pause and silence. I just want you to share some examples where the power of silence and the pause has worked well. Maybe something from your experience or from the public experience that you can share it with people, because many people do not understand. A good communicator is somebody who actually uses these two really well in their speech.
yes, yes. You don't even have to look for, I'm sure every one of us has had this experience. When we are little, we come home we've come home late. Our mother invariably is very angry. Okay. And at that time, all your mother has to do is to stand like this, right? Just this non-verbal cue that she gives you, and she doesn't say anything, she's only looking at you. What do? You instantly start, sorry, 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 sorry. I'm really sorry. You know what? I didn't, this was the reason, that was the reason. I actually wanted to come early. But then so and so came, or the bus was late, or the scooter had a problem. Nothing. She doesn't say anything. She just stands like this and looks at you. And
That's a very
pause
beautiful
and pause.
example.
Yeah, the pause and the pause brings out all the communication possible for you to justify, right? And there itself, and all of us have experienced this,
Very
or a teacher who to whom you're submitting homework but you haven't completed it. Teacher doesn't have to scold you. The teacher just has to look at you and say, okay, and that's it. Then it starts, right? And many a time, what we don't realize is when we are asking questions to inquire about something, all we need is to listen. We are always listening to reply, not to understand. And
Mm,
the more we listen, we'll start using pauses. There are so many things that are said in silence. You know, when we go to pay condolence to somebody, you don't have to say I'm sorry because it's not your mistake, right? Just go there and hold that person's hand. Go there and hug that person. You don't have to say anything. That I've noticed is one of the most powerful ways of using silence.
mm,
And at that moment, that person doesn't need advice. Many a times when your friends come to you and they say, you know what, I need your advice, Veda. I just take 5 minutes of your time? And you're like, yeah, sure. And the person starts talking. At the end of it, even if you've not said anything, the person concludes by saying, thank you so much, Veda. This helped. And all you did was what? Provide
listen.
silence.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
I
You
think
didn't make a judgment, you didn't pass a comment, nothing. And the other person is like, thank you so much. Thank you so much. You don't know what you've done. Right?
personally,
And you
what I
didn't do
have,
anything.
yes, personally, what I have experienced is many people, as you said, they they want somebody to hear them. They want somebody
Yeah.
to listen to them
Yeah.
without
Yes.
questioning their thoughts or being judgmental. And if you can, as a coach or as a leader, if you can provide that space, I think a lot of miracles happen actually. I have seen personally in my teams when people come to me for any issues or something, just listening to them and just listening to them and probably asking a one question in the end, like, okay, that changes the perspective because they have not spoken and outpoured their feelings or frustration or just their thoughts. And when they get that opportunity to just be heard, that transformation happens. I think you kind of beautifully put that through. Very, very nice, Rashmi. Uh, what is interesting about your whole profile is that you seem to have like transition into so many careers, so many new things that you have done. I'm like, the change is something which bothers people, and you have mastered it. And I can see that today also, if somebody gives you an opportunity to change something new, I think you will jump into it. You have that persona, you have that energy. uh, what has worked for you? I mean, how in your mind you process uh, changes, transition? It could be career transition. I think even from a location perspective, you have moved from Chennai. You said I did hear one of your videos where you were in Kazakhstan, and you are now in Bangalore. And also in terms of careers. So, what is that you have to tell to people about transition and how do they handle it? Without fear, transition without fear.
One very important element we have to understand is it is the truth. The absolute truth of life is change is the only constant. And the more you change, maybe physically you're not moving out of places, but there's a lot of shifts happening mentally with, like I said, the environment around you moving. Okay, the environment around you changing. So this is where we have to work on our attitude. Our attitude plays a very important role, but there are some absolute truths of life that I have understood, which I have seen life has taught me, and one of the most important elements in that truth is that an opportunity comes to you only because you're ready. Never say no. Even if you think you're not equipped, just jump into it, take up that challenge. You are ready. You will learn in the process, but just jump there. Don't say, no, I don't think I can do it. It's come to you because life always knows what's best for you. So trust life. Okay, life is a better decision maker when it comes to these kind of things that life throws at you. Each one of us is life's favorite child. It's just that some of us believe in life, but most of us do not. And that's where the difference comes in. So, change is nothing. That is the truth. But how beautifully you accept it and move forward is what helps you with how you transition and how you bloom further. And each one of us is constantly blooming. It's just that how much are we allowing ourselves to bloom? And another very important element when you're in this journey called life is you have to be very clear with your no's.
Hmm.
Okay, what is it that I'm not going to do? So, if you clearly list out those value systems that are non negotiable, the rest is possible for you to work around. So nobody can write down your non negotiables. You decide that. And once those non negotiables become very clear to you, the negotiables you can always work around. And it is possible. There are so many options. You know, that I meet a lot of women who stop with one kid because they feel that life will, where their careers will take a big hit if they have the second kid. And everything is around a matter of fear
Yes.
of what if, but just take that leap. You don't know what's on the other side. So, another principle that I follow is life is on the other side of the comfort zone. Step out of that comfort zone that you've built for yourself. The moment you step out, that's where magic is. And you don't even know your potential till you step out of your comfort zone. So just take those risks, move forward. And I feel as a woman, you should be somebody like I read this quote a long time back and I love it. You know, they say, be that woman who, when you wake up in the morning, the devil says, oh crap, she's up again.
That's a very good one, no?
So that's the attitude with which if you face life, I think life will not have a choice, but only open up more and more for you
I
because you're
like the
ready.
energy when you said, like never say no to an opportunity because divinity has chosen you, right? So it has chosen and never say no to that. And then take that leap of faith. And
Yeah.
yeah, these are important because I think it is not only for women, but many people also, just
Anybody. Mhm.
anybody who feels very conditioned for whatever reason it is, and they actually, if the conditions are also not there in their mind, they have put the condition that I cannot take this, I cannot do that, and that stops them actually. For me, my journey around fears have been like wherever I have been afraid of, like if I was afraid of water, I would I got into swimming. And then I used to be a very shy and introvert person, and I wanted to learn public speaking, and I used to be terrified of that. So I got into Toastmasters. And I think I can draw parallels to what you are saying is that don't worry about like yeah, when I got into Wipro, I was even about to write the exam. Like my friend said, like, I don't think we have enough marks to even get it. I said, let's try. If they want to say no, let it come from their side. Why not try it from our side? And I think I've seen people around who are into taking that bit of a risk and that bit of a faith, and that small change is what has made them that shift and big difference to their lives as such. we have another 3 or 4 minutes, Rashmi, before we wrap up. And I think this is important because we both are women and we have both have been on the leadership journey. There is a certain point in a leadership journey, like for especially for women, I feel that, am I good enough? You know, they have put a name to it. It's called imposter syndrome. But before I knew the imposter syndrome, it was always the word like, am I good enough? Am I technically competent enough to take that role? Can I stretch so much? All these things. I know it is all about fears and this thing, but you do a lot of, uh, Vani and coaching to women especially. And what do you think is the reason why people feel that way?
Okay, when it comes to imposter syndrome, that's there equally for both men and women. Okay, imposter syndrome doesn't affect women alone, but
Ah,
then a lot more women percentage wise, research says are facing imposter syndrome more than men. Maybe somewhere it's because we voice it. That's why people see that as women we face it a lot more. But what I tell everyone is instead of asking yourself, am I good enough? Drop the two very unnecessary words and just say, I am enough. Okay. And the moment you drop that am from it, which becomes the questioning word, you are saying, I am, instead of saying good enough, just say you're enough. And just that I am enough are three powerful words that helps you take that leap of faith. And like I said, that leap of faith you take only when you know somebody is holding that net for you. And that is where trusting life implicitly will help. Because there are so many moments when we don't take that leap in spite of the net being there because we are sure we are going to fail. But the fact that we tell ourselves, I am enough, what is the worst? I will fail. That's okay. Because life is not about how many times you fail, it's how many times you got up after your fall. So just getting up and facing life again is one of the most magical moments of life itself. So, all I can tell anyone who has this, and even the best of the speakers have imposter syndrome every time they go up to speak. Will I do good enough? Please remember, when you're a speaker, nobody knows your script other than you. Want to say, and that is a script for the world. That's all it is. And the more you believe this and understand this truth, the more easy it is to face any challenge life throws at you.
Rashmi, this conversation was very special and interesting, and thanks for your energy. I think apart from your voice, I think it's the energy that you put in that makes this whole thing very special. And for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to me and to the audience. And as I said, you are my special guest because this is my first episode, and thanks for giving that time to make this happen and giving you lots of learning to take this forward. Thank you so much.
All the best, Veda, and congratulations on taking the first step. Now leave the rest to the universe because you've taken the leap of faith. The rest will happen. All the best on this journey. And again, honored to be the first guest. And thank you so much. Loved the conversation
Thank you
myself.
so much. Thank you.
Take care.